Hi, Esther. Welcome.
Hi.
Hello, welcome.
Hey, yes.
It seems that we managed to switch on the things, so that's good news to start.
Yes.
I'm not showing my face
Hoor je mij?
because we are
Nee.
sharing the slides for any incoming participants.
Okay. So should we test it or
Test
we can't test it?
Yes, please. I'm going to stop my share.
Yeah.
And you're going to take the share over to you.
Yeah, let me see how this works. Start screen. Even kijken.
So you have to have your PowerPoint open already. And then you choose the window with your PowerPoint.
Okay, share.
When you start the share. Exactly. So we're seeing Anita's screen at the moment.
Okay.
So I don't know if Esther has a different PowerPoint or it's the same.
No, it's the same PowerPoint.
Okay, that's helpful. Okay. So it's okay then.
And you will introduce us both? Or?
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to introduce you both according to basically the lines that you've sent around. So just tweak them a little bit. And in the end, if no one puts too many questions, I'm going to ask you about the paper from Pennsylvania that was in the Muscle and Nerve from April about the use of telehealth to enhance care in ALS and other neuromuscular disorders? Is that a fair question?
Depends on what you ask about the paper.
Yes.
I'm going to ask what's your opinion about the use of it, if you have any experience. How do you see it as a possible alternative or complement to your approach? So that's my question. Is that too difficult, too tough, as Dr. Donald Trump would say? Too tough?
No, it's just appealing, but I will have to find the article first.
Okay, I can send you the link if you need it. Just let me go on to my email. I can even send you the article.
Oh, that's very kind.
That's great.
Okay, so let me see if it's still on my download folder. I think it is. I have it.
Is it okay? So we will go back to the other screen for the if other people are.
Okay, so I can do that. No worries. So you stop the sharing, Anita, please.
Yeah, I don't know how.
It's on the lower part of the screen of Zoom. If you go with the mouse, you see share screen, and then stop the sharing.
Oh no, I only see the. Oh, that's difficult. Not here. Oh yeah, okay. Now it's just clicks away. Oh, I can't find it.
You need to click your Zoom connection.
Zoom button. Yeah, but that's on the.
If you're and then when you have your Zoom,
then I have
you have the possibility of stopping your sharing.
Yeah,
that's it. So I'll start sharing mine instead. It's going to be this one.
Did you send already the paper? Or?
No, I cannot do more than one thing at a time. But I will in a moment. In a moment. Almond. And I thought I had it in my download folder, but I probably closed it, so I need to do it again. I think I can do it through, oh no, I can't. So how I do this, I open in Open with preview, yes. And now I save it somewhere. Export as PDF. Yes, it can be Almond in the desktop, yes. Now I'm going to send it, right. New message and create Fagan. Yes, okay, paper and attachment, desktop, Almond, yes. Here it goes.
There it is.
It's very interesting because it's impressive the number of kilometers that you have to travel in Australia to go to a specialized appointment. So the average is 612 kilometers.
Yeah, that's.
And the average travel time
amazing.
For Americans for the Massachusetts General is 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's rather impressive. I'm sure that in Holland it's much shorter, but
it is. And it can also be a problem. Just imagine.
Yes. On the other side, it's also interesting because their average consultation about all this effort from the patient is tops 30 minutes. So, but yeah, so some are 15 minutes. So it's really interesting. So if you haven't read it, I will just ask about the telehealth and see if you see any use on it. All right. Okay.
Oh, I think your Esther, this publication is also in the list at slide 21.
Yeah.
The use of telehealth to enhance care.
Okay, so you see.
It's recognizable because in many places it's telehealth is used when you're not able to come, and it's a way of giving patients the opportunity to stay in contact in a good way. So with telehealth, and that's the difference with our system. We also have patients who are still very able to travel, but don't want to put energy in this. Because they have better things to do. So that's, I recognize this. Yeah.
So.
Distance from clinic appeared to determine the participation to choose telehealth. It's a different approach.
They also did cost effectiveness research.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like our business case.
So we are still alone, meaning there's no one else in the Zoom. So I can perhaps put you some questions out of my curiosity. So when you do your home clinics with the patients, you go there as a team with different participants or specialities, or you go there as isolated and then you liaise with the other people in the team?
Well, patients are at home monitoring. They collect their data, and in hospital there's the specialized nurse who is the first one to regard the signals and look at the data and has conclusions and responses to questions of the patients.
So that in preparation of the visit.
No, that's not always followed by a visit. It's not so necessary.
Okay.
So it depends. You can have many different responses from us. You can have a response that we give you with the link is to interesting articles to read about certain symptoms, or there can be a chat between the nurse and the patient, or we plan a few extra visits in hospital. Or we plan a visit at home. It just depends on what's necessary and what the patient wants. So it's really
data you collect is about their sleep, I suppose, and their breathing as well.
No, it's very basic. It's not. It's just only weight and and the ALS, FLSAR, and their daily, well, the way they feel today. Just one simple question: how are you feeling today? And it's not just to. Doesn't cover the whole care or all the questions you want to ask. It's pure recovering signals of do we have to respond or not. Okay. And then you can get the extra questions. You know, the nurse asks more questions and goes in depth about certain problems, because you also must make it very concrete and small. It mustn't be too elaborate. They must be able to do it every week or every month. So it really mustn't be more than signaling. Of course, we want. We are at this moment we're doing a study on the remote monitoring of pulmonary function. That would be ideal to have that extra. That would be really ideal. But
so basically,
it's really tempting to ask them anything, you know, because they can fill out all these questionnaires. But you want to do that. They must be doing that also 2 years later and 3 years later. So you must be aware that it mustn't be too elaborate.
So it's more in terms of quality of life and complaints or problems.
Yes, it's very just pure getting the right signals. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
And do you use any registry to get that data?
Yeah, the data are in the cloud.
Yes.
Actually.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so that's wonderful. That's exactly what we need, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Very secure in the cloud and extractable, and then can be used anonymously for research.
Some years ago, I was in a ENMC meeting about breathing in myotonic dystrophy. And I remember, I can't remember the name of the colleague, but someone from the Netherlands was attending and explained that you have a kind of centralized home ventilation team that is basically, it was 2 centers at that time that would cover all the territory. Is that still the case?
It's still the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to basically, when you need, you have to coordinate with them, how the patients receive their support.
Yeah. We work closely together, and they are luckily in our hospital. That's one of their locations, and you have 4 main centers in the Netherlands, and we coordinate together. Yeah.
Okay. That's nice.
Okay. Yeah. It's a short, very good communication. Yeah.
Excellent. And so with this home monitoring, how how do you feel it works best for patients that are lighter or for patients that are more advanced? What I am wondering is when the patients enter a palliative or pre-palliative stage, how useful is the home monitoring? What do you think about it? Because I don't have any knowledge or experience. So
now we are surprised that many patients go on for a very long time, even when they're really in the last phase of their disease. They're very pleased to have a short line of an easy line of communication. It's very low threshold and also very comfortable for them, and it's an easy way to ask questions. And it's we realize that many patients go on sometimes even until the last 2 weeks before they die, and that means that they have an enormous wish to communicate and and they do it all in their own way. Some patients keep on delivering data, and other patients are just asking a lot of questions. It's just completely different between patients.
And what about the families? Because in the final stage, it's even worse for the family. I don't know, but it's at least it's not very good for the families. I don't know if it's worse than for the patients, but it's a very anxiety generating situation.
No, it's just a tool in care. I mean, you just in every phase you have to deliver care in the best way, and it can be like that in the last phase that what you're doing best is having your normal personal talks and calling them and emailing them, and it's not a law to just use the app. This application. It's just a tool in the way we can deliver care. And we do what's necessary. So, and especially for the families, you're right. In the last phase, we are very we have care together with the nurse and the maatschappelijk werker, what you call social worker.
Yeah. But there is also home care in the palliative phase. So so it's not only given provided by the ALS team, but also
by the palliative team.
We work closely together.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Now we have other people, so let's explain that we haven't started yet. Don't go away. We're just chatting.
Wow. 5 How many people do you expect? Participants?
It's variable. So on average, we have between 20 and 30. Sometimes we have less than 20, and on one occasion we had more than 100. So that's when we started having the YouTube webcast at the same time, so that people, if they have any problems with Zoom, can watch on YouTube too. So
understand. Hier is die foto vandaan van mij.
Voor mij ook. Je kan best een
Blurred vision, man. Het is prima.
Hij staat er wel eens een blije gup op.
Ja, dat is goed.
Ja, dit is mijn AMC-foto, dus waarschijnlijk van het internet gehaald.
Ja, dat denk ik ook, ja.
Oh, I see that I can share screen by pushing the Alt S.
Oh ja.
Okay. Dus dan kan ik hem ook makkelijk terughalen, denk ik.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, welcome all to this webinar organized by Euro-NMD, the ERN for Rare Neuromuscular Diseases. My name is Antonio Atalaya. I work as the clinical advisor for the ERN. Before introducing our speakers today, I'm going just to remind everybody of the functioning of the webinar. As you know, during the webinar, you cannot have access to your microphones and you cannot see yourself in the Zoom, but you can talk with one another by using the chat tool that you have in Zoom, and you can put questions by the Q&A tool that you can find as well. Usually at the end of the webinar, we allow you to speak and voice your question, but if you're no longer present, I will do it for you. And basically, we are going to start now. And today's webinar is about personalized care for patients with ALS. And it's centered about ALS home monitoring and coaching. We have two experts from a very reputed center, UMC Utrecht in Netherlands. Anita Billen is a senior researcher on neuromuscular diseases at the UMC Utrecht, and she's a program leader of the research on muscular diseases at the Knowledge Center for Rehabilitation Medicine Utrecht. Her current research focus is on improving rehabilitation care for people with ALS and mainly adults and children with SMA. Esther Kruitwagen is a rehabilitation doctor at the same center, the Knowledge Center for Rehabilitation Medicine in Utrecht. She coordinates the ALS PPSM referral team and has set up a number of outpatient carousels for patients with ALS, Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and myotonic dystrophy. Anita and Esther's vision for research and innovation aims at optimizing the care of people with muscular diseases and their families, with a special focus on ALS, as I've said before. They start with what people can still do and help them take control of their own disease. They are also deploying new forms of care, such as e-health, informal care application, virtual home and home monitoring. And they are testing interventions such as respiratory training and cognitive behavioral therapy. Thank you to you both for agreeing to do this webinar. And I am certain that the current audience who is attending the webinar live will learn a lot And I'm sure that the others that will see the webinar afterwards through our website will learn as well. So the floor is yours, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop my share. Please share your...
Okay, so I can share my screen.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. We're very pleased to give this presentation together. We work in Utrecht, it's true, and we work in the ALS Expertise Center. Our aim is to improve care for everyone in the Netherlands, wherever you live with ALS, to improve care for all these patients. Let's talk about our application. That's why we give this presentation. Patients with ALS, they shouldn't get standardized care, because there's a great variety in the course of the disease and in the survival of the disease. You may recognize this. This is a figure from the article by Henk-Jan Westening about survival prediction. And it's made us, again, very clear that there's a great variety in range of survival and course, and that we should give personalized care to all our patients from day one. But what's the situation? As a doctor, you really want to monitor these patients, as you may recognize, because it's a very severe disease and you don't know the cause of the disease. So the aim is normally to monitor your patients. And what has happened in the Netherlands, that was a strong tradition to invite everyone every 3 months into a carousel so that they would meet the entire team. And so at the end of the day, conclusions and personalized care planning would follow. But it's a bit awkward, because I just mentioned that all these patients are they differ immensely. And well, it's not done actually to give them a standardized program, even if it's only for screening. And also patients in 2015-16, we started this project, their patients were saying to us, listen, we're very satisfied with your care, but there are some items which we think are not of this period anymore. You should change, you should optimize your care. And they were talking about the timing of the information given. So that every patient has a different course of disease, and all the information that's given should have also a very individual timing. Content of the care, of course, and especially also the organization and planning. Patients who don't have many complaints, why should they come to a clinic for all day when they only have, for instance, problems with their right hand? And also caregivers were giving these comments, because they often have to take a day off from work to come to the clinic, and well, they have more to do. We're all aiming for their quality of life, and then it's a bit strange that we're taking so much time of them. So this in mind, we were thinking about the new project. And we is the ALS Expertise Center in Utrecht. And our mission, as I said, is to give optimal care for all patients in the Netherlands, everywhere where they are. And in the Netherlands, we have a very interesting and very, well, it's unbelievable system, actually, because what you see in this figure is all the ALS teams in the Netherlands, all the locations of 36 certified ALS teams, standalone teams. We are not their boss in Utrecht, to make it clear. They all function within ALS in the rehabilitation care in centers or in the hospitals. Next slide, please. So our project was all about care innovation. We wanted to optimize ALS care through innovative strategies for person-centeredness. This actually are one of our goals. And in this case, to provide care tailored to the needs of patients and their caregivers at the lowest burden and with increased control over care. That was their question. And we thought of a solution of e-health to monitor at home, like patients like me, for instance, was a very well-known project in which patients were very eager to monitor themselves, but also to be able to support all the difficult decisions that have to be made by the patients through a more interactive education information system. And we also, by doing all this, wanted to support caregivers more. Next slide, please. So what followed was the development process. We first had what you call an inspirational session at the headquarters of Apple in the Netherlands, together with patients, together with the ALS Center. UMC Utrecht, our hospital, was funded everything, and with a developer. And in that process of co-creation, we came to our project. Next slide, please. And we all defined our main goals: personalized care and minimal burden of care. That really, from day one, should be minimalized. And the elements we focused on were telemonitoring, a compact system, easy to use, and also something you would fill out not only for 6 weeks or 6 months, but 3 years as well. So it shouldn't be too elaborate. And the feedback system. And that was really also one of the questions of the patients and also of all the healthcare professionals there available, that it would be very wonderful to give feedback at a distance and already have in a very easy way being able to give a kind of care or to inform your patient. Next slide. So we developed ALS home monitoring and coaching. And actually, it's a really simple application. It's about a question about well-being, a question you can fill out every day if you want. It's body weight, so you fill out your body weight every week. And every month you fill out the ALS FRSR score. And there is a chat function with the healthcare professional. In our case, that was a specialized nurse, but you could also easily train an occupational therapist or someone to do this. And this was the package for the patients. And the nurse practitioner, her answer is to provide personal feedback. She provides timely information tailored to the needs of the patient. She can kind of have an individual library filled with all the articles that are very specific for this patient. And she answers questions, advises, proposes treatments, and arranges clinic visits if necessary. And this is all protocol based. We also wrote a ALS protocol, which is based on the guidelines and on the, it's also the basis is the ALS FRSR score. And this gives us also more insight in the responses the responses of our team, and we can easily evaluate also our own behavior. And this nurse practitioner is always under supervision of a rehab physician. And I just want to make clear, this is a tool to improve care. This is not, it doesn't cover everything in the care. It's just a way to monitor patients and to be more aware of how the patient is doing and which topics are important. And you can still have your personal contacts with the doctors or with other therapists. It doesn't exclude that from this. So this is what for the patient sees. He sees very easily the cause of the disease and the questions. On your left, you see the question, weight, and the ALS FRSR score. And then you see the individual pages of the 3 items. Next question. Next slide, please. And then you have what the healthcare professional sees. This is also in one view, you can have an oversight of how your patient is doing. And it's really, we find that these curves are really strong. There's a really strong signal for patients. For instance, when a patient sees his weight going down and up and, kind of changing in time, it's very interesting to talk to the patient about what has happened in these several moments. And when you see that, for instance, he had his weight was dropping and he was given advice from the dietitian, and the weight goes up again and then it goes down again, and then even the patients will conclude, if it's not a nice conclusion at the end, well, I see whatever I've done, it wasn't enough. I am going through I must have a gastric tube because I tried everything and I can see myself that it's not enough. It's very strong image for a patient, and it makes these difficult talks often quite simpler, and patient feels be taken very seriously. Next slide. And this is what's also built in this, and this is really for us very important. And within one view, you can see the difference between the two ALS Everest scores of the 2 moments in time. And so it's a very quick view to see where the changes are in the moment, the last month. Yeah. And these are the alerts and messages when you are the healthcare professional doing this. The monitor is very convenient when you in one view you can see which signals are there for which patients, and which patients you have to monitor extra beside the list you have for this day. So and then what follows is flexible clinic visits because based on the communication with the patients and based on what you see in the monitoring, you can decide about the planning, and that's a decision of both patient and healthcare professional. So it's a new way of caregiving. It's very protocol based. It's actually, we base our care on many more data than we have ever had before. And the needs of the patient are a very important starting point. And what followed was we developed this app, and of course then you implement and then you evaluate. And this is a cycle we're always in, and I'm going to tell you more about the evaluation of this project. You can see in the article about of Jochem Helleman, you can read more about the feasibility and user experiences, but when you see these data, I think in short, you can learn a lot about the impact of this application. Patients experience a lot of reassurance, and they are very pleased with the flexible care and visits, and the short lines in communication, the self-reflection and insight. And that is something that is often thought by other healthcare professionals, that it can be very confronting to see your own data, which is true, but patients say it's true that it can be very difficult to watch your own scores, but it's also, it gives me insight and it gives me control, and I'm not crazy. I feel what's happening in my body. So it makes them feel stronger. And it's all about self-management, really. The adoption rate was quite high, 80%, with a high adherence to self-monitoring. That's an increase, that's a really high number. 87% of the patients experienced increased control over care services, which is a really high number. 96 recommended to others. And it supports decision-making for 59% of the patients. And that's lower, but also understandable, because not all of these patients we asked had major decisions made or didn't experience that as major decisions. So that's a more difficult question. And it's really not a burden to monitor themselves. That's I think is a very positive outcome. And bear in mind, an adoption rate of 80% is really high. When you see studies about telemonitoring because of a study for like a clinical trial, you often see adoption rates of about 50%. And I think because there's for patients, there's something in it for patients. There's a feedback system, and there's a continuous feedback and control for patients. It's this high adoption rate. And then healthcare professionals are very pleased as well, because they experience better timing of interventions, and they experience that when a patient comes to their outpatient clinic, they are better prepared because they have already read the information that applies to them. And that makes your clinic visit increasingly efficient. And that's especially occupational therapists who have to tell all these also these technical stories and give all these information, especially at the beginning. They are very happy that patients know their way to this information better than they used to. And they experience less burden because alerts will remind. So it's for healthcare professional, they experience less burden because they know that when something will change, they get an alert. And that's they experience it as very pleasing. The next slide. We thought it also very important to perform a social cost benefit analysis in the form of a business case, a social cost benefit analysis. And this is about, are the costs to society justified by the benefits? And not only quantitatively, also qualitatively. So it's very interesting for health insurance companies, for instance, to know about your analysis, because when you want to implement a new application, it's, well, one way or another, or one moment in time, you will have to talk to your insurance companies to help you with the finance. And also because we wanted to implement this not only in our team, but eventually in all the other ALS teams in the Netherlands. Next slide. So here you see a view for the quantitative benefits. When you go from up to down, you see the insight in disease progression positively improved, the information on care options, and the decision in care and aids and equipment, enhanced shared decisions. So these are very important topics. And of course, we made, when you go to the right, we made additional costs because we hired someone, we hired a nurse practitioner for monitoring. And we, yes, we did this in our team because I have a really large ALS team, but we also had reduced costs. So less in-clinic time for me to see my patients, which is very interesting because, as you know, the doctors are always more expensive than the other therapists of the team. And the patients also had to come less to the clinic, which is interesting because that's also the parking money, taking the day off from work. So that's really also a financial benefit for the surrounding. And it also meant reduced staff resources due to less in-clinic patients, appointments. And we expect better choices for aids and equipment because we can have more data about the progression, about the whole course of the disease. And we hope that will lead to better choices for aids and equipment, and eventually also, well, a more subtle, better process for patients to get the right instruments at the right time. So this is very important. And then we have the qualitative benefits. And then again, you see what we've said, the continuous monitoring gives a sense of security to patients. And it's also a relief, mental relief for the healthcare professional. And what's also very nice that we are building, well, we have a lot of data now to provide very valuable information for research purposes. Information at the right time reduces burden. People don't want to hear about bulbar complaints and all the things they can expect when swallowing is influenced at the moment that they don't have any bulbar problems. That was really one of the complaints of the patients. And they say that, no, it reduces burden that you get information just at the right time. Insight and information increases also sense of control, and it enhances quality of life. And it gives me more certainty about the right choice. So this was also a positive analysis. So this is to summarize. At the left, you see our financial, our personal costs and the running costs for an e-health platform. Let's not forget the running cost of an e-health platform. That's really quite an amount per year. So someone has to take these costs. At the moment, it's our university hospital. And at the right, you see the increased quality of care, the higher user satisfaction, the sense of locus, and so a sense of control, and the less consultations for the patients and for the caregivers, and the lower travel expenses. So a very positive evaluation. I must say, during this year with the COVID-19, I was really happy to have this application because, of course, there were challenges to ALS care. Patients didn't, are reluctant to come. They avoid in-person clinic visits. The clinics itself had to scale down, and there were staffing shortages. But we were still able to monitor all our patients who participate, and it was really for us, it was a really good way to see what we had in our care and how positive it can work through. And patients were very eager to stay in contact. And what was also with COVID-19, I think you all recognize that our hospital was speeding up the adoption of e-health, which was interesting because all of a sudden I had even more tools, like a really good way to do to have the WebEx account, WebEx calling my patients, and also to have many more other ways to be in contact with our patients. So that was really nice. And also the telemedicine infrastructure is matured because of this whole situation. But above all, it has made me clear that I'm very happy to have this application. Very suitable. Next slide, please. And we must realize that we are not the only ones. This year, many articles were published about telehealth. This is only 4, but there have been many more articles, and many also on the implementation of telehealth in care. Before that, we saw a lot of articles on telehealth and improving clinical research and research studies and medical and how do you call it? Yeah, the trials. So this is really something which has happened. So not only in the Netherlands, but everywhere in the world in ALS care, telemedicine is adopted and is being seen as one of the challenges, but also a great opportunity to improve our care. And I think what I've told you is that it is a very promising way to improve our care. We have implemented it fully. The user feedback has given us enormous amount of positive feedback from our patients, and our patients are very eager to always to monitor themselves really in a long time, even sometimes until 2 weeks before they die. It has made care more efficient, and we have a positive cost-benefit analysis. So what we think this is the way to go in ALS care. Now, Anita Belen will go.
Okay, so given all these positive experiences, we thought we need to make this form of e-health available to all Dutch patients in ALS and NMD, and especially in this pandemic situation, this form of e-health should be available to all the patients. And furthermore, our business case was positive with at least 500 patients who are using this form of care. So that's the platform costs are really very high. So you have to have a lot of users. So we started a nationwide implementation, and what Esther already told you, we have a large ALS care network with a lot of ALS teams. So we purposefully selected 10 ALS centers or ALS teams in the Netherlands. And this was really purposefully selected because they had to include different settings, for instance, university hospitals, but also regional hospitals or rehabilitation centers. Also to include different geographical locations, so urban as well as rural regions, and also the number of patients they in care in these teams. So some teams have only 15 patients in care, and other teams have as much as 90 or 100 patients in care. So we wanted these factors all in our in this implementation study. For the implementation, we used a participatory action research approach, and that's and in this design we focused on the organizational implementation, and that's really the reorganization of the care processes in each center. Now, I will short tell you about the technical implementation. We provided to each center, each of these 10 centers, a center-specific platform, which is a copy of our own platform we use in Utrecht. So it's a copy of the hardware and software and content, but with an own database. And that's to make sure that we can't see the patients in another part of the Netherlands, and the other centers can't see our patient, our data from our patients. So, and each center uses the monitoring platform as a standalone secured web application. So that's the technical part, but the project is really on the process implementation. And so back to the organizational implementation, we used participatory action research, and that refers to an active involvement of those who are the most affected by this new way of ALS care, so by e-health innovation. So all the power of this research is that all these stakeholders collaborate together, and they contribute equally from their own expertise. So a researcher brings his research expertise in, and a patient brings his patient's experience in. And this approach promotes also the empowerment of local stakeholders to identify problems and solutions to the problems, and it promotes learning. So this process is linked to action. And action as well, that we a change is in a real life situation. So it's not an experimental situation, but this are the changes in real life. And from these changes you can learn, so the experience in terms of the different outcomes. So all actions are well documented and results in new knowledge, which is the research part of this PAR approach. And it's as well quantitative results as qualitative results. And lessons learned are well documented, so we can learn it and use it in other teams which will in the future implement this e-health form. This participatory action research has shown to be very powerful in reaching sustainable change. And it has a cyclical approach. It starts with a diagnostic phase in which all teams, project teams, identify barriers and facilitators for the implementation. Then an action planning phase where strategies are defined for the barriers. An action phase, so strategies are executed and the consequences are evaluated. And lessons learned from this, from these actions can lead to any corrections, so you can go on in the cycle. So for our participatory action research project in each center, we formed a project group of key stakeholders. And that consists of patients, caregivers, healthcare professionals, management, including financial officers, a care planner, ICT support, and researchers. And this group, for this group, we had 5 online meetings through Zoom. And we started with an introductory meeting in which we showed what the e-health care, how the e-health care looks like, what it means to patients, what it means to healthcare professionals, and what the project of the implementation, what does it mean to the project group. So then the second meeting is a focus group meeting in which we did the inventory of barriers and facilitators for implementation. So these are specific for that center. So it's really context specific. Then in an additional meeting, in meeting 3, we defined strategies for the implementation. So the whole project group works together to define these strategies and to plan the actions. So there was an extra meeting with the project group without researchers to check whether all actions are executed and the preconditions were met. And then all teams started with a pilot study in which they included 10 patients who receive care, ALS care with ALS home monitoring and coaching, and at least for a period of 3 months. So with the supervision with a health and care coach or a nurse specialist, but not all teams have nurse specialists. So sometimes the coach is an occupational therapist. And after the 3 months period, patients and healthcare professionals received a questionnaire from us, with which we evaluated the adoption and adherence to the monitoring and the user experience. And that was a quantitative as well as qualitative evaluation. And in the last meeting, we presented all the results from the participatory action research and the pilot study. So it's an ongoing project. We started in January this year, and we invited 12 centers, of which 10 consented to participate and 2 declined, and for both was the reason staff shortage, and 1 was COVID related. So they will implement this new care in a second phase of implementation. So at this moment, 9 centers have started with the action research, and 1 will start real soon, so next month. And already 5 centers are including or have even finished the pilot study. And we have from one center, we have the evaluation completed, and the results are really promising. It's also a positive experience, like in our center: high adoption, low dropout, high adherence to monitoring. So that means that patients are willing to fill in the questionnaires and the weight at the frequency they agreed upon. Now, also very positive user experiences. Patients see this as a real add-on to the usual care, so it's valued by patients and also by healthcare professionals. And of course, they also have some suggestions for improvement for the platform as well as the app. We have also the app on the smartphone or a tablet, and sometimes the performance of the app is a little bit slow. So there were some complaints. This project has given us a lot of insight in all facilitators for implementation. That's the power also of this participatory action research. And some facilitators are the credibility and confidence, the fact that we use this form of care since 2017, so that's more than 3 years after the pilot phase. That gives confidence. So that means yeah, the toothing problems are all overcome. So it's they can trust the system. So it's a credible system. Furthermore, the proven added value for patients and healthcare professionals, the high adoption and adherence we reported in the publication of Helleman et al., but also the positive business case that helps. Another important factor, which is known for e-health, is the usability. If you have a user-friendly interface, an app or the web portal, that helps. That is a positive facilitator for implementation. And last but not least, the acceptance of e-health due to COVID-19 and a very positive effect of this pandemic situation. Of course, we also have barriers for implementation, and of which some are also known barriers for implementation. In all the participating centers, we use the platform as a standalone platform, which is not integrated in the electronic patient record. In our center, we use it as an integrated platform within the EPR, but that's not possible due to the fact that we only have 1.5 years for this project to implement it in 10 centers, and that's the technical issues with the integration are sometimes are very difficult to overcome. So that's not possible in this project, but we will implement there in the future. Yeah, of course, a limitation of the platform as is the fact that we cannot do the pulmonary function testing at home, or that the platform has no way of spirometry. So we have to do it with questions on the pulmonary complaints. Another barrier lies in the beliefs of healthcare professionals, beliefs that e-health would disrupt the delivery of care, or that it threatens the patient-professional relationship. Some professionals think you need to have in-person visits to have a good relationship. But we always tell them it's an add-on. It's not it supplements the care, and it's not the only care you give. So furthermore, as a barrier is the shifting tasks. There are new roles. For instance, the role of the person who does the monitoring. That's a complete new role, and thereby also new responsibilities for healthcare professionals. Now, workflows need to be adapted. For instance, team consultations the e-health must fit with the current workflows, and that's not always the case. And there were some concerns about data protection. I can say that it's not a necessary concern, because the data are really very high standards protection. And there are concerns about future ongoing costs, so the reimbursement of the cost of an e-health platform. Now all teams received the platform, or the platform without any costs, so free of cost. But that is still the end of next year. Then we have to find financial reimbursement for our platform. And now I will give some advanced examples of the strategies and actions we use to overcome these barriers. An important strategy is how you inform patients on this way of care. So we have developed patient information leaflets in different languages, also to reach patients with another cultural background and who are not the Dutch language, not proficient in the Dutch language. Furthermore, we invited the teams to fine-tune the monitoring protocol. although the protocol is based on guidelines, on ALS MND guidelines, there are some decisions that are not guideline based. So you can adapt this and make it more context specific. Furthermore, some strategies to adapt the workflows to fit the e-health. Of course, a lot of training and education, training of the person who performs the monitoring, but also the management of the platform, how the platform works and how accounts are created. So that's all education we provide to all the teams. And an important strategy is the engagement of the ALS multidisciplinary team in the implementation, so they know what the project progress is, and so the teams present through frequent meetings the project progress. And our last important strategy is to provide technical support in case of issues, and that's mostly issues with regard to login or yeah, there are not many technical issues. So, what are the success factors we have learned from this implementation and also from our own implementation? That is the involvement of patients in all phases of this this project. So from the development of the platform or eHealth way of care to the implementation. So we have a user-centered design, so a design which is adapted to the wishes and needs of the users. And we involve patients in all phases. So in this project group, also patients are represented. A real success for the monitoring and the adherence to the monitor is the frequent personalized feedback. Patients are very willing to fill in the questionnaires because they receive personalized feedback from our physician, our nurse specialist. Of course, some financial support is also one of the success factors. We received support from the Expertise Center, ALS Center of the Netherlands, and also from ZonMW, which is a grant we received from the Dutch Ministry. And therefore, we could give a financial reimbursement to all the teams, all the centers who participated. So that's really helpful. And the approach with participatory action research is also a very success factor, because implementation is really an ongoing process that does not stop with go live. So if you start with the eHealth, you need to go on with implementation, because otherwise it stops. And PARS gives tools for ongoing evaluation. We train the local teams to identify the barriers and to develop strategies to overcome these barriers. And this is helpful for sustainable care in the future, sustainable e-health care. Now, of course, we have a wish list with a lot of optimization on it. First, we would like to implement, we start with 10 centers, but in our care network, there are 36 centers. So we need to continue implementation in the other teams. Furthermore, we would like to optimize the home monitoring of patients and caregivers by pulmonary function self-assessment, either with home spirometry, which is there is evidence that it's possible to remote for remote pulmonary function testing by the patient himself. So we are currently investigating in our population to test whether spirometry can be performed at home by the patient self. And if that's not possible, we would like to add the monitoring of hyperventilation symptoms, so adding a questionnaire in the platform. Another innovation is the monitoring of muscle strength decline at home. We have developed a fixed dynamometry to use it at home, and so we can check for the strength decline. So we are currently testing that innovation. And we would like to also monitor the burden of family caregivers with the home monitoring platform. And what also an important aspect of the future investment is the resolving of the financial barriers, which we hope, and we will discuss this with the health insurance companies. So I would come to the conclusion, and I hope we have convinced you with this webinar that e-health supplemented to in-person multidisciplinary care adds value for patients, caregivers, as well as for healthcare professionals, and it enhances personalized care. And the patient participation from idea to implementation is the key to success. So we hope that it inspires you to integrate e-health in the care for patients with neuromuscular disorders in the future. And we are happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Esther. Very nice communication, and I was expecting more questions. I currently don't see any. I must say to the participants in the webinar that all of them can now speak, so they will be able to unmute themselves and put questions. And to incentivize them to put questions, I would start myself by one. So it's very obvious from the rate of adoption and the adherence of patients that you are being very successful. I don't think there is a best outcome measure of the usefulness of the monitoring than that one. But I imagine that some of the clinical data that you're collecting, for instance, weight, can be very useful for you to look at, for instance, the time to decide on putting a peg or a gastrostomy to the patient. So have you noticed any of those things already in the data that you've been receiving?
Well, that's something it's under research, you could say. That's one of the topics for us next. Because that's very interesting. I think that's one of the lessons learned for us, and how this process has changed. But I already, when I see in the everyday contact, I notice how convenient it is to have this curve and to talk with patients about all these data, and not talking about one moment in time. You say, oh, your weight is dropping, and well, maybe it's 3 months. That's a lot of kilos. Maybe we should. This is much more subtle and much more fitting. So in everyday context, I already noticed this, but we are going to study this. Yes, the change of making big decisions. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anybody has questions? I have lots of questions, but I don't want to be the only one. So you can unmute yourself or you can write them if you're feeling shy. Okay, so the other one that I would like to ask is, as you've described, your system is very much a prolongation of your electronic health records, meaning only the hospital that the patient attends will have access to the data of that patient. I suppose that is fine in terms of data protection, but in terms of research, do you have any intent or attempt ongoing to collect the data from the different centers in order to have a more meaningful sample of population?
Yeah, that's our intention, to share the data, and that's also agreed upon with the centers. All center can make an export of their data. So and it's anonymous, so it's not with personal data, but with a number. Yeah. So we agreed upon that we share these data and can use this as a consortium. But it's you are right. We can't. There is no one database. There is actually one database, but we cannot use the whole database. So we have to rely on their willingness to share these data with us.
Okay. I suppose that implies also special consents at the patient level, of course.
The patient gives a separate, of course, when you create an account for a patient, the patient has to accept the app or the web portal. But they can also give consent to using the data for research purposes.
Research, okay.
It's not, you can also say, no, I don't want to give my data for research, but they most give their consent. So it's a separate consent.
Another thing that I find very interesting is that this is a monitoring system that basically is on a position to support and help the delivery of care, but you don't have a component of telehealth in the meaning, telemedicine in the sense that you're not doing care, remote care. So you're not seeing the patient at home and talking to him and things like that. So there are publications recently about that. Do you think that's a way to go in the future, or for the moment you think it's too early for that?
I think Esther can better answer this, but we combine this way of care with teleconsultations, so video consultation. So
yeah, we also we provide care at home when necessary.
Okay.
And home visits.
Yeah, when necessary, we do a lot of home visits together with the home nurses at home and the GPs. So yeah, we are, and actually also by eHealth, we're improving this contact with all the other professionals around patients. So no, that's always been main part of our job, also to go to their houses. Yeah.
Excellent. So last chance for the audience to put questions. I'm not going to do a countdown. Okay. Too shy an audience today. Thank you very much, Anita and Esther. Thank you to the audience for being present. We hope many more will see this webinar on our website on demand. And see you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.